This season's a lot more fun when you win that first game of the series.
You are Locked On A's, your daily Oakland A's podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, A's fans, and welcome to Locked On A's, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about your Oakland A's all year long, and this is the last year in Oakland. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please, as you can tell, you can call me Sully. Follow us at Locked On A's on Twitter or whatever the heck it's called now, and on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. And today's episode of Locked On A's is brought to you by our good friends over at PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB. Use code all lowercase LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. So, yeah, I'm recording this. The A's game ended about half an hour ago, I guess. And it was if you're an A's fan, it was everything you would have wanted to see. We wish Blackburn all the best. I wish all former A's all the best wherever they go, except when they play the A's. And thank you, Paul Blackburn, for getting absolutely clobbered. It was clobbering time. It was a thing. Seth Brown doubled in the first inning to bring home Rooker, to bring home Bleday, to bring home Shea Langoliers. And before the Mets even came to bat, they were down 3-bagel. And the Mets did rally to get another run to make it 3-1. That wonderful crooner, Jose Iglesias, got a line drive single. Then, weird play where Miguel Andujar got a ground ball, and the aforementioned, I think it was Lindor. It was either Lindor or Iglesias. The ball kind of ricocheted off the glove as they were trying to. Oh, that's right. It was Iglesias, because Iglesias is at third. I'm sorry. I think of it. Iglesias came up with the Red Sox and the Tigers, and he was a shortstop, and he was an exceptional shortstop. So my brain is having a hard time calibrating that he's playing any other position. Well, it didn't help the Mets. I mean, it helped them on the iTunes chart, but it didn't help them on the field. And that let one run in, and then up steps Shea Langoliers. The Mets used to play in Shea Stadium. Well, Shea Langoliers came in like, hey, I own this dump. I own this field. I own the Mets. He hit a home run. It was 3-1. Now, I thought, you thought, and we all thought we were about to have a laugher. And then came that fifth inning. And that fifth inning, up until that point, I was actually listening to the Mets feed. And, oh, my God, they were talking about Boyle like he was the second coming of Randy Johnson. He's so tall. He's so talented. And then the fifth, Winker doubled. And then Alonso got that hit. And suddenly it was 7-4. Fouled out under Yikes. In comes Adams with the bases packed with Mets and nobody out. And I thought, you thought, we all thought they were in deep trouble. Now, Austin Adams played for the Mets in spring training this year and was let go and was picked up by the A's. This is when the A's everyone thought they were going to lose anywhere from 100 to maybe even 200 games this year. How is that possible? I don't know, but let's just say the expectations for the A's this year were kind of sort of low. Adams threw that one inning, and I'm not a big believer in looking at a win-loss record for a relief pitcher. It tells you virtually nothing. If you get a blown save and then they hit a walk-off home run the next inning, you'll get a win. I've seen people get a win as a relief pitcher where they will let up like 3 runs in one inning. Win. That's a victory. But sometimes it does account for something. Adams came in with the bases, or with 2 on and nobody out, and got out of the inning. And with a couple of strikeouts too, and a big, huge, demonstrative celebration. Now, if anyone has a problem with that, I'm sorry, you're the fun police. He wiggled out of a jam, put a middle finger up to the team that got rid of him. And everyone thought, the Mets thought, okay, this is a contending ball club that has to win these games. They're on a slide. And they circled the calendar saying, here come the A's. We're going to pick up some wins here. And he wiggled out of that. So if he wants to celebrate, if he wants to do a cartwheel, if he wants to twerk, if he wants to do jumping jacks, if he wants to moonwalk or sing OMG off of the mound, that's his prerogative. I can't sing more than that. We'll get in trouble. And then Andujar, boom, singles. And then there's Langoliers again. A double. And with that, Langoliers finished the game. Say it with me. 4 for 4 with 4 runs batted in and 2 runs scored. If it wasn't for Juan Soto's 3 home run game, which evidently the Yankees needed every one of them to win that game, then he would have been the player of the American League. But you know what? We'll take it here. We'll take it here. 9 total bases for Shea Langoliers. Brown drives in 3 runs. And Andujar drove in a run. Rooker, 2 for 5, 3 runs scored. So Langoliers homered and hit 2 doubles. Geloff got a stolen base. And while Boyle pitched great for the first 4, got rattled in the 5th, Adams, Alexander, Ortiz, McFarland, and Ferguson each threw a shutout inning. You notice I didn't say Miller. And so there you go. It's magical when your team wins game 1 because now the other team has to win out. So we know that tomorrow the Mets who the heck are the Mets? The Mets are starting Peterson and the A's are starting Estes. And we all know Estes can pitch a good game. We all know the A's can hit. We all know things can look pretty good. And as Jesus M., who is an everyday A's listener, says the A's are getting more confidence. Yeah, that's right. And in fact, I'm going to play something in the final segment. Ryan Finkelstein of Locked On A's appeared on the other podcast I do, which is Locked On MLB. And I was going to put this in today's episode, but 2 things happened. The episode that I posted on Tuesday morning, which was the stadium tour, took a little longer to upload than I wanted to, and so I didn't get a chance to do another episode. And you know what? We can all live. By the way, I got a lot of nice responses to the stadium tour episode, but I will get into some people's thoughts on that on an upcoming episode because I'd rather just talk a little bit today about this opening game with the Mets. But when we come back, I do want to talk about something because the A's, believe it or not, could be looking at a goal for this year that I thought would have been completely unattainable at the start. Hey, let's hear a little bit from our friends over at Liquid IV. Now, you're going to ball games, you're going outside. I'm telling you, I'm here at the luxurious Locked On A's studio in Pasadena, California right now, and it is approximately 104 degrees Celsius outside. It's hot. And if you're going to a ball game, you're going to sweat a lot. You got to stay hydrated. When you're taking in America's pastime, don't forget to hydrate with Liquid IV's Popsicle Firecracker flavor. It's a surefire summer hit. Get hydrated with electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients from the number 1 powdered hydration brand in America, because baseball and summer go together like Liquid IV and indulgent hydration. Now, for flavors, you got to blast off with the iconic summer flavor of Popsicle Firecracker. It's a festive blend of citrus-fueled lemon, lime, tart cherry, and raspberry flavors. Find all your favorite flavors on their website, from acai berry and lemon lime to pina colada. Tear, pour, live more. 1 stick plus 16 ounces of water hydrates better than water alone. Powered by LIV Hydroscience, an optimized ratio of electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients that turns ordinary water into extraordinary hydration. 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drinks, 8 essential vitamins and nutrients, always non-GMO, vegan, gluten-free, dairy-free, and soy-free. No more thirsty summers when you indulge in hydration with Liquid IV. Get 20% off your first order of Liquid IV when you go to liquidiv.com and use code MLB at checkout. That's 20% off your first order when you shop Better Hydration by using promo code MLB at liquidiv.com. All right, now we got to talk to our friends over at PrizePicks. You know what PrizePicks is? It's America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more than or less than 2 to 6 player stat projections. Watch the winnings roll in. Get in on the daily action with your friends and become part of the PrizePicks community today. And with the summer games over, lots of hoops action is still out there. Women's basketball is still heating up. They got stars like Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, looking to make names for themselves along greats like Breanna Stewart. You can win up to 100 times your cash by watching them ball out. And PrizePicks is available in more than 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for first deposit match up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks for a deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. With PrizePicks, it's always that easy. All right, now we're going to talk about the fact that you make Locked On A's your first listen. For your second listen, listen to more of me, Locked On MLB. I'm here every day to provide you the national expertise with, my humor and my thoughts and my interesting way of putting things. I get you ready for the Major League Baseball playoffs here in the dog days of summer. Prepare for the Fall Classic with me. I've got it covered every single day in Locked On MLB, available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. At the beginning of the year, especially when they got off to a good start and they were at even 500 on May 4th, I thought, hey, what if the A's avoid 100 losses? Would that be something that they don't lose 100 games? Everybody in their moose thought this team was going to lose 100 games. What if they didn't lose 100 games? That would be a big thing. And then because remember, in 2023 last year, they lost 112. So if they avoided 100 losses, that's at least a 13-game improvement. That's not bad. But then it was like, what if they don't finish in the cellar? Coming off a 112-loss season and knowing they're going to scram to not lose 100 games and not finish in the cellar? Well, that looked possible in early May and looked like a complete pipe dream when May and June turned into absolute disasters. But then there was July. In July, the A's had, say it with me, the best record in the American League in July. And how has their August looked? Well, they've won 6 of their first 10 games. And so the thought of, wait a minute, could they crawl out of the cellar? Now they still are in the cellar. But with the Angels' loss and the A's win, and the A's have won their last 3 games, they are only 1 back in the loss column and 2 back in the loss column and 1 back in the win column of the Angels. And the Angels stink. And the Angels are kind of spiraling back to earth. 2 games in the loss column behind the Angels? Can the A's play better than 3 games better than the Angels for the final month and a half of the season? Yeah. There is a real possibility that the A's could finish in 4th place. Not in the cellar. Not in the basement. Final year before sleeping on the couch in Sacramento. But friends, there's more than that. Listen to me. Listen to me well. The Texas Rangers lost to Boston today. That's their third straight loss and their seventh loss in their last 10 games. The defending World Series champion Texas Rangers are now in mid-August 10 games under 500. And do you know what that means? The A's are only 4 games. 4 games in back of the Rangers. Now stop and think about that for a second. They have played at this point 120 games, which means there's 42 games left. Can they play better than 5 games better than the Rangers over the last 42 games? Now they have 3 games in Arlington at the end of August. And then 3 more games against them at the end of the year. In fact, I will be at the final ever Oakland A's game, which will be on Thursday, September 26th, and they will be playing the Texas Rangers that day. If the A's don't go on a bad losing streak and the Rangers and the Angels keep falling back to earth, I'm not saying there's a great chance, but it's a possible chance. They play 3 games better than the Angels the rest of the way, and 5 games better than Texas the rest of the way. The A's could finish in 3rd place. That's a possibility. They forget losing 110 games. Forget being in the cellar. They could be in 3rd. Now, 4th place is a realistic goal, but 3rd is sitting there. Am I saying that that's a banner should hold up? No. But in the final year in Oakland, where everything is being thrown at them that's disgraceful and terrible, to walk out of that, improving by at least 13 games from the previous year, not finishing last place, and finishing ahead of the defending World Series champions, that's got to be something. Steve comes in and says, A's could definitely finish in 4th. We are for sure going to be giving contending teams a run for the money and possibly spoiling them too. I got news for you. The A's can hit. The A's can pitch. Can you say that about the Rangers? Can you say that about the Angels right now? So, someone who does know that is Ryan Finkelstein, who is the host of Locked On Mets. And when we come back, we're going to play a little bit of my conversation with him and talk a little bit about the fact that, yeah, teams like the Mets should be concerned about the A's. All right, we're going to talk about to our friends at Ibotta. Now, this is a time of the year, summer is winding down, and you probably want to have that one last thing, that one last party, that one last barbecue. That's something you want to stock up on all the right things. Your grilling favorites, your drinks, your sodas, and all that stuff. And you can earn cash back with every purchase when you use Ibotta. So you don't have to choose between burgers and hot dogs. You can get both. Ibotta is a free app that lets you earn cash back every time you shop. Earn on hundreds of items from groceries to beauty supplies, even toys. So you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter where you're purchasing. The average Ibotta user earns $256 per year. That's half the A's payroll. That could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip, that flight you've been eyeing, or a fancy dinner you've been craving. Other apps that give you points that don't amount to much. With Ibotta, you can earn cash back that you can withdraw to your bank account, PayPal, or gift cards. Simply add offers to the app, unload your receipt, and voila, the money is yours. You can save on over 2,400 brands and shop at over 1,000 retailers, including your favorite grocery stores, Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, and more. It's time you joined the over 50 million users who use Ibotta earn cash back every time they shop. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 for just trying Ibotta by using code LOCKEDONMLB when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store, download the free Ibotta app, and start earning cash back and use the code LOCKEDONMLB. That's IBOTTTA at Google Play or the App Store and use the code LOCKEDONMLB. Ibotta! Come on. Let's start saving some money. Passion, drive, and patience The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you will always find exactly what you're looking for. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need and the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Now, this seems kind of weird to tell you to tune in to Locked On MLB, but do you know what? Because if you're listening to me right now, you're listening to Locked On MLB, but maybe you're listening to Locked On Mets. I don't know. Check me out. I'm your pal Sully. I'm here all week long, 5 episodes a week of Locked On MLB. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. However, if you really like what I'm doing, guess what you should also do? Check out Locked On A's, because I'm hosting Locked On A's 5 days. That's right. If you like what I'm doing, guess what? You have 10 episodes a week of your pal Sully hosting here at the Locked On Podcast Network. Even if you're not an A's fan, we're doing some fun things there. It's the last season in Oakland, and it's weird. I have an upcoming episode where I go to all the spots where they propose to build stadiums in the Bay Area. And guess what? There are no new stadiums in any of those places. And you could have checked me out going to Sacramento, where I sat basically on the surface of the sun in a July afternoon game, where it was so hot that my phone overheated while trying to record a podcast. So check us out, Locked On MLB, Locked On A's. Check out Ryan's show at Locked On Mets. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. All right, so we're crossing over right now, Locked On A's, Locked On Mets, and Locked On MLB. Everyone's hearing this right now. The A's started, obviously the A's are a weird team this year. They were horrific. They were grotesque in May and June. And then they were the best team in the American League in July. And they remain a good team after winning that series in Toronto. Brent Rooker can homer at will. And they still, and Mason Miller is back from the injured list. No one traded him. They still can pitch. They still can hit. So if Met fans were circling in the A's series saying, well, there's 3 easy wins right there, you might be surprised. What is your thoughts as the A's seem to be relishing playing the spoiler, beating teams like Philadelphia and Houston recently? What are your thoughts and concerns about the Mets and A's series coming up?
It's funny. I for Just Baseball and the managing editor, I just assigned a story today talking about the best spoilers down the stretch, and the A's were the first team that came to mind because they have been playing great baseball. And there's nothing worse than going into a series against a team that's playing good but has nothing to lose. And I think Mets fans experienced that last week when the Angels took a series, when the Rockies really pushed the Mets. And I said after the Mets won the second game of that series, after they lost the first one, I was like, man, just get them out of Colorado. I'd almost want to see a good team because maybe the Mets play up to competition instead of down to competition. Then I met the Mariners over the weekend. I think I'm happy that we're not going to watch Logan Gilbert, Luis Castillo, all those great pitchers in this series. I think the Mets have an easier task ahead than what they just went through, but it's not just a cakewalk by any stretch. It's not what's going to be the weekend series against the Marlins. This is definitely the tougher of the two series, but it doesn't get any easier after this. The Mets have to win this week because they got the Orioles coming next week to close out their homestand, and then they have maybe their most important road trip of the season going out to face the Padres and the Diamondbacks. So there's no time to lose series. They have to find a way to beat the A's, but that's not as easy as you would think if you just looked at the total season record.
Well, it's been following the A's all year, and Brent Rooker, how he did make the All-Star team, I have absolutely no idea. And I like the fact, obviously I've been following the A's the whole season, but I've liked the fact that they didn't do a total fire sale. They did trade. They made the deal with the Mets. They traded Urseg to Kansas City. They made a couple of deals, but they kept Andujar. They kept Rooker. They didn't trade Miller. They didn't trade Estes. and some of their other pitchers who have been pitching well. They basically said, no, let's and Rooker was relieved. Rooker didn't want to be traded. And by the way, here's a message to all the people, the people who comment and things like that. What, does he not want to be on a winner? What does he not want to do with this? First of all, brush the Cheetos off your chest, all right? And maybe, just maybe, it's not exactly convenient to up and move at a heartbeat, sometimes across the country in the middle of a season. But in the case of Brent Rooker, he didn't want to be traded because he revived his career with the A's. He was a DFA dude. He couldn't find a job with Minnesota. He became an all-star caliber pitcher, and he wanted to be part of the A's as they, for the organization that basically rescued his career. He wanted to be there at the end of this weird year to be at the final games in Oakland. He would say, hey, this team turned it around for me. I don't want to be traded in midseason so I could be a rental player in Philadelphia or wherever. So if you've not been in that position, kindly shutteth uppeth, all right? You know, it's like they just should be, it's a pain in the butt to move in midseason. Maybe he has a sense of loyalty. There's no loyalty in baseball. He was loyal. No, he's a loser. No, you're on your fifth, French bread pizza, and you're calling him a loser? Come on, just continue playing Farmville or whatever, and shut up. I got no deal. But okay, back to reality. I think this is going to be the A's are playing with a certain swagger, and they're having fun. Lawrence Butler. I don't know if you know who Lawrence Butler is. Lawrence Butler's been hitting the snot out of the ball, and he's been playing like a poor man's Kenny Lofton, basically. Sparky at the top of the order, going first to third. They still have holes. This team's probably going to finish with 90-something losses, but even 90-something losses will be a 20-game improvement from last year. Go Sacramento! But anyway, I think that if Met fans are only half paying attention and they think this is the 110 some odd loss team from last year, they're going to be in for a rude awakening when Rooker homers. Yeah,
no, the A's they have a much better team, and I think their direction was sort of interesting, right? Because everyone, said, all right, we'll sell all. Why not sell everything you can? But at the same time, if you still have pieces that have control, you could build towards something. That front office is still trying to win baseball games and looking at next year and beyond. Well, maybe. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Fine. Well, for the sake of argument, yes.
I'm just saying they have to be doing something, right? They can't. Just because the ownership has given up until they get to Vegas doesn't mean that the front office has. And so it makes some sense to me that they kept Rooker. And ultimately for him too, I would say that he has a chance here to finish off a great season in Oakland, and then he might be an attractive trade chip in the offseason where he can start a year with a club from the beginning as a big piece of what they're doing. But yeah, this is a A's team that is definitely a lot better than, again, the total record would suggest. And it's not going to be easy. At the same time, this is a series. If you want to be a playoff team, the Mets got to win it. They got to find a way to put some runs on the board. And I think the fact that they had such a rough series in Seattle, to me, coming back home, I feel like they are going to get going a little bit offensively. It's just a matter of if the pitching can hold up, and we'll see how that ends up working out against an A's lineup that's swinging it really well.
Well, but you're always swinging it really well. So, Ryan, tell people where they can follow your show.
Wherever you're getting Locked on MLB or Locked on A's, you're going to be able to find Locked on Mets. You can follow me on Twitter at Finkelstein Ryan. Find the show at Locked on Mets. And yeah, that's about it. And follow us on YouTube as well, of course. Trying to get to 10,000 subscribers by the end of the season. So I appreciate all of you who subscribe over there.
And you can follow whichever show you're watching. You can either Locked on MLB Pods on Twitter, or whatever it's called now, and on Instagram, Locked on A's on those platforms. And either way, I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Talking about an up and down Mets season and a Mets A's series, which at the beginning of the year didn't look like it had any consequences to it. This has been a Locked on MLB, Locked on Mets, and Locked On A's crossover. Woo! That's a lot. He's Ron Finkelstein. Finkelstein.
You had it right.
I had it right the first time. I second guessed myself. Oh, I'm on all different platforms. I'm your pal Sully. Oh, I screwed up the ending of my show. There you go. What doesn't matter? Just watch the show.